So, I have some late night thoughts on the lake. One of my favorite places to be, but it deals with our perspective and how we view life. And there are two ways to view life. There is through the little t, which is the truth, with the little t, and then there is the big T, which is the truth, the universal truth. And what I'm realizing is that when we're dealing with the ways of society and we're dealing with the ways of our judgment, those are the things that falls under the little t, the little truth. But then when we're dealing with nature and the ways of the universal laws, those are the things that fall under the big T. And so a lot of times we fall short and we suffer because we're living in that little t, the little truth. We are living our lives based off of the judgments that we're creating, the judgments that we're picking up from other people, and how we are defining what we're experiencing, defining what we're experiencing. And if we jump over to the other truth now, the universal truth, there is no definition to what we're experiencing because in nature everything just is. And when you live your life through the natural way that we was raised and taught and believe, with the little t, with judgments, with expectations, and you live your life in those ways where you're judging other people and expecting certain things, it sets you up for a lot of disappointment, especially when you feel as though things aren't going your way. You fall into depression, relationships aren't going your way. You start gaining anxiety, you start losing confidence in yourself. You start thinking about your self-worth and thinking that you're not good enough when we live under the little t, under the expectations. But when we fully commit ourselves to understanding the big T, the universal truth, understanding that everything in nature just is, there is no definition, there is no good, no bad. It just is, it just exists. There are no expectations. You show up as who you are, and that is who you are. And you start to accept that, it makes life a lot easier on you. When you're not judging yourself for your mistakes, when you're not judging yourself for being in places where you expected yourself, when you expected yourself to be better, it makes it that much easier to just accept what you're going through, because the universal truth of it all is you can't get life wrong. The universal truth of it all is you're going to die and you can't arrive to death safely. The universal truth of it all is that everything just is. And without our judgment and the meaning that we attach to certain things, we wouldn't be in a place of suffering. We wouldn't be in a place where where we feel like we want to give up and we're lashing out on people and we're expressing anger and we're lowering our vibrations. So a great way to maintain your high vibrations and to stay in alignment with what is for you is to realize that everything just is, without giving it a meaning, without having expectations. And once you accept that big truth, the universal truth for yourself, you'll see how much more enjoyable life becomes. I hope this resonates with somebody, because it definitely resonated with me, because I was falling into the way of the system, the way of judgment and expectations on myself, on other people, and I found myself getting disappointed over and over and over again. And every time I was disappointed, it was dragging me into negative self-talk, negative thoughts, bringing out the worst in me, bringing me back to the old self that I thought I no longer identified with, where I was using my words as my weapons, as a way of defending myself, because I wanted to prove something based off of my expectations. But once I realized that you got to let that go, you got to just accept it is what it is. Let that ego go. Then you'll start to realize that it starts to feel better. Life starts to feel better. And it starts to get better. And your expectations starts to dwindle and they go away. And you just start accepting life instead of resisting life. And now you're in the flow. and it doesn't feel as uncomfortable as it did before. So I hope this resonated with somebody. Definitely resonated with me. Have a great Saturday night and be safe out there, y'all. Peace.